Hunt and Hill. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. It's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome in, Hunt and Hill, on a Thursday from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. I am Hunt Palmer. He is Hill, Jeremy Hill, Casey Gaines, and Taylor Sharp back in action today. It is Thursday. Mr. Hill, how are you?
Look, I know it's here because it reminds me of like the first week of school and like the day before school you're running and going getting all the pencils and last minute stuff. Like we're talking about game day shirts and everything right now. So yeah, it's here, man. We got to get the game day shirts
I went
ready.
up to campus and got my game day shirts for the year today. I was going over game notes today, running a highlighter through them. It's here. I mean, it doesn't – if they were playing in Baton Rouge on Saturday – you'd have the barricades up, you'd have the caution tape, there'd be the signs up, the trash cans everywhere. Like you would start to see it. Of course, they're in New Orleans this weekend, so we don't quite have that, but it's here now, and I couldn't be more fired up about it. So lots of LSU Florida State football talk that we will get to today. We've got actual real conference football action tonight. Penn State, Purdue. You got Missouri and Louisiana Tech playing tonight. You've got Tennessee playing Ball State tonight. We'll give some picks on those games a little bit later. Zalance Hurd will announce his college commitment coming up later this afternoon. We'll talk about that at the end of this hour. I want to talk a little bit about the secondary, and then we'll do something today that we're going to do every Thursday moving forward in the second hour. We'll talk about the best win that's on the board this weekend and the worst loss that's on the board this weekend. We'll kind of get into that over the weekend. But we start with some really troubling news out of New Orleans. It's just breaking. Nick Underhill has the story. Marcus Maye, a free agent acquisition of the New Orleans Saints, a safety expected to start and be a key piece to what is a very, very strong defense, arrested overnight this morning for aggravated assault with a firearm. This is per a source, according to Nick Underhill. Not good. Not good. My suggestion would be to not assault people with firearms, but apparently Marcus may have just done just that. There's due process, and we know based on dealing with a lot of these things, whether it's the Alvin Kamara issue, whatever it may be, sometimes these things take a while, but on the outset, it does not look good, and you've said it a million times. You do something that makes the shield look ugly, they don't like that, and this feels like it may not end well.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great. You know, sometimes you hear things when you first hear them, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's not as bad as just thought. Anytime you hear firearms and assault in the same sentence, it's just this is something that you don't want to be dealing with, especially if you're the Saints going right into week one. And so I know we have to trust due process, innocent until proven guilty. I don't know any other facts beyond that point. I haven't heard a police report. I haven't read anything on it. So we'll see kind of how this thing develops. It may not be as bad as we thought. I remember hearing last year when Lattimore had his situation, I was like, oh, he may not play at all this season, and then it ended up being not as bad as you may have thought. So we'll see how this plays out, but definitely not great news if you're a Saints fan.
Yeah, I mean, there's possession of a firearm, and then there's assault with the firearm, which is obviously a step further, and it just doesn't look good. And it certainly doesn't look good when you bring things in from a football perspective, and you realize that the Saints just traded Chauncey Gardner-Johnson away 2 days ago because you had so much depth in the secondary, and then all of a sudden, boom, boom, you have two potentially taken off the field, one for sure, and the other one, we'll see. Now all of a sudden you look up and that secondary is not quite as deep as you thought. My thought is that means that P.J. Williams would be playing a lot of safety. He has filled in at that spot in his time in New Orleans. Justin Evans is a guy that apparently has looked pretty good. Luke will know more than me or you do because he watches it every day when we have Luke on in 25 minutes. But what do you think happens opposite Tyrann Mathieu now in that secondary?
You may have to give Malcolm Jenkins a call. No, he's probably retired. He's probably done. But I think they may be looking in free agency. I think that's what you're going to have to do, especially at that position if he's going to miss a significant amount of time. So I think the Saints are going to be, on the clock here. Are they going to sit him down? Is he going to be allowed to play? I think it's going to be a evolving situation where you got to kind of go day by day and kind of see what's going to happen here. But that creates a hole in the secondary. Now you lose two impact players in that secondary in 1 week, and that's just not good. I was feeling really, really great about it a couple of days ago. Now, as you lose those two safeties, now it's going to create a bigger, world for Tyrann, have to create a bigger impact, and he's going to have to move around a lot more. And so for the Saints, hopefully he doesn't have to miss much time, but if he does, I think they definitely got to make a move.
Yeah, it's it may have been the best secondary in football. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore is an all-pro when he's healthy and has been at that level for a couple of years now. Paulson Adebo has been exceptional in his time last year and then throughout camp this year. Marcus Maye has been a solid, but well above average starter in the league. Tyrann Mathieu has a ton of skins on the wall at safety. And then you had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was such a strong player in the slot. Alontae Taylor, you bring in as an early round draft pick that had a nice camp. Justin Evans coming back into form where he was a guy who was a starter at the NFL level. And P.J. Williams has proven he can play as a dime back when plugged in here and there. I mean, it was as complete, deep, talented, high-end talent as there was in football in terms of the secondary. And now I'm going, okay, Adebo and Lattimore are still out there, and Tyrann's still, able to play whatever spot you want to plug him in at. But if you don't have Marcus Maye, if he gets suspended by the team or by the NFL, which this is a fresh story, so we don't know where that's going to go, all of a sudden you've got P.J. Williams back there. That's out of position. That weakens you significantly. All of a sudden you've got Justin Evans in there who wasn't getting a lot of talk as of a month ago. You've weakened yourself, and now I think I can't imagine what the Saints brass thought when they got this news this morning. Like, you got to be kidding me. We ship a guy out of town, and then 40 hours later, his running mate's in jail. That's not great.
No, it's not great. And like I said, it couldn't come at a worse time. Just when you lost a guy that would have been an impact player on that defense and that you depended on, and you trade him, and then now you're on the verge of losing another impact player that you were going to depend on to play a lot of the snaps in that secondary. And so, not great news. It never feels good about this, especially at this point when you're supposed to be at the most locked in point you are as a player. You're so close to the first game of the year. I don't know when this happened, so we'll kind of get all that stuff as we go, but definitely couldn't happen as a worse time if you're a Saints.
And look, sometimes I throw my hands up a little bit on some stuff. Why?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened. Maybe nothing happened. It's all made up, and there was a false complaint, and the details will come out, and they'll scrub the whole thing. But if this did happen, why? Mm-hmm. What position were you in on a Wednesday night, early in the morning, in the middle of practice in camp and all, brandishing a firearm in some kind of argument? Why? Why are you doing this?
No, it's definitely you got to hear the details. I can't wait to hear that because if it's not favorable for him, then I'd see that hammer being found. If if it's some situation where he was being the bully or he's being the aggressor, I could see the NFL not looking down on that with kind eyes. And I think, if there is a world where if he's, self-defense, maybe someone's trying to attack him. We just had a player get robbed and shot the other day. Yep. So, who knows what happens. So I think as this thing goes, and like someone just said in the Bayou for a chat, he's probably not going to get suspended for a long time, which is kind of what the NFL has done recently. But we'll see. I mean, it took him, almost a year and a half to just suspend Deshaun Watson. So they kind of take their time with these kind of things. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, every situation is different, obviously. The Deshaun Watson thing was so layered because reports kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and it was all hearsay, and there's just so many levels to that. This is one incident you would think they could get to the bottom of it fairly quickly. Sometimes they can't. The Kamara thing has gone on forever because there were a lot of people involved and there was a lot of moving parts and everything's going real fast, and all of a sudden you've got to get all the details out. If it's two people and it could be resolved fairly quickly, it could take some significant time. Of course, Marcus Maye did get in some hot water legally with the DWI when he was with the Jets a couple of years ago, so not his first time in the headlines for things like that, but it's just from a football perspective, which is the way we like to try to keep things here when possible. It's a big deal to this Saints team because when you go from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Marcus Maye, and then over the course of 2 days, you've now got P.J. Williams and Justin Evans. It hurts. So we'll talk to Luke Johnson coming up in 20 minutes about what he knows, what it means on the football field, what it may mean off the football field, and what the Saints may do. We just had everybody trim that roster to 53. There are a lot of guys who are in really good shape and ready to take a phone call if that's something the Saints are willing to do. It happened so recently. The story broke 25 minutes ago. We haven't had time to scour the waiver wire. All right, well, who could they possibly sign? That's something that I think Matt will probably spend some time on over the next couple hours, and he may have some more information for you on after further review. But we'll ask Luke about it coming up here at at 1:30 when we talk Saints with Luke Johnson. We'll take a time out here, one segment down. I started reading some Florida State stuff. There's so much content out there that you can dive into. And I understand that I'm reading things from the Florida State side when I do it. 2 stories on 247 by Brennan Sonnone, who we've had on the show a couple times. 2 matchups Florida State could take advantage of versus LSU. 2 matchup FSU will struggle to win against LSU. We'll get that from the Florida State side coming up next on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
Driving through campus today to get those game day shirts, started thinking about the tents firing up and everybody getting into tailgate mode. LSU and Southern a week from Saturday. If you don't have plans to tailgate, you don't have a tent, you don't have a spot, you've never done. Revelry Sports and Entertainment has got you covered. Turnkey luxury tailgating every single home day. You can do it for one home game. You can do it for the entire season. You got to go and check out what the packages are, what the availability is over at revelryteam.com.
Yeah, so I have to tell you guys about Revelry's full-service turnkey tailgating. It starts with their standard package, which comes with 25 to 30 people in capacity, a 10 by 20 high-peak tent, all-day concierge, electricity hookups. They even hook you up with a post-tailgate cleanup.
If you hear that and you go, well, I got more than 30 people, they can get you 2 tents. They can expand your footprint out there in their village. It's right behind Patrick F. Taylor Hall, 3 blocks from Tiger Stadium. It turns into kind of a tailgating village there of all Revelry tailgaters. So if you want to get involved, go to revelryteam.com, look at the schedule, check out the packages. There's frequently asked questions on there. They've got answers for you, and they're certainly able to get in touch with you if you've got significant other questions that they can answer for you. They cater. They can bring your alcohol. They can set it all up. They can tear it all down. You just show up, enjoy the game, enjoy the day, and go into the game. Revelry Tailgating, revelryteam.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura. Join me for the next edition of Hanny Time, live from Rufino. It's got a football Friday feel to it. Jimmy Otto joined me along with former LSU Tiger Richard Dixon. Hanny Time, noon weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Out in the open field here on a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill. Luke Johnson with us in 15 minutes. We'll have a lot more on the Marcus Maye situation with Luke. Saints are practicing right now. I know that Dennis Allen is meeting with the media in about 40 minutes. So we may get more information if Dennis Allen says something of substance. We'll talk about it in hour number 2. My gut tells me he'll take the question. We'll say, I can't comment on it right now. A legal matter. We were aware of it, and we're looking into it. That's probably what you're going to get. But we'll talk with Luke, and what Luke can definitely do is tell us about the product on the field should Marcus Maye be unavailable for any amount of time. So Luke with us in 15 minutes. Been diving into a lot of Florida State game preview stuff. There's just so much out there in terms of podcasts, videos, stories, previews, all that kind of stuff. And I enjoy things from the other perspective, just so you can kind of break out of this bubble from time to time. And so Brendan Sinone's been nice enough to come on the show a couple of times, and we've talked back and forth. And he wrote a story, 2 of them actually, about matchups that favor LSU or favor Florida State. So the first one that we'll go through here is matchups that he thinks Florida State could take advantage of versus LSU. And the first one he points to is Florida State's running backs against LSU's linebacker. He pulled some film from the Texas Bowl. I know, I'm aware of what happened in the Texas Bowl. But it was above Greg Penn, kind of late to fill a couple of slots, a couple of big Deuce Vaughn runs that he made. And Florida State's running backs obviously had a huge day on Saturday. 3 of them went over 100 yards. These guys are physical. They're big, and they've got some ability. Trayshawn Ward is kind of a balanced back. Lawrence Toafili is really, really shifty and catches the ball well out of the backboard. And then Trey Benson is a hoss. I mean, he is a big, big dude. So it is a good group. Your thoughts on how LSU fares at the linebacker spot? We've talked about the rotation all camp long. We think it's going to be Jones and Penn to start. Baskerville's going to play. I think Wes Weeks may play a little bit. And then where does Harold Perkins factor in? I think probably more so against Southern and New Mexico in the early going. But how do you think they hold up?
Yeah, I think, I'm not as worried as I would be if they didn't have the front that was going to be in front of them. Yeah. I think that front four is going to be so disruptive. You're going to have to put so much focus and attention on making sure those guys aren't living in the backfield, and it's going to create lanes for these backers to run around. And to me, if you want to look at Penn in that Texas Bowl when the defensive line wasn't anywhere remotely to what it is now, and the defensive backfield, the defense just wasn't the same at all. We had Pig Cage out there trying to hold it down. So I think looking at that linebacker room now, if the defensive line can play well, I think it's going to open up for all those guys to play out there. And if Penn's in there, it lets you see, especially with us thinking Baskerville is a pencil-in starter. He must have had an extremely play well, extremely out through camp, and I think if he did that, then he deserves to be out there with Mike Jones.
I don't have a great feel on linebacker. I think I've got a pretty good feel on a lot of positions. That one has eluded me. There's such a heavy rotation. There's so little proven outside of Baskerville. Now, the fact that Baskerville is not running with the ones, to me, feels encouraging because I know he's an SEC quality player. Is he an all SEC player? No, but is he a capable SEC starter for Auburn or LSU or A&M or Florida or Tennessee? Yes, he is. He absolutely is. And so the fact that he has apparently been passed up, I'm going to lean to the side of that's a couple of guys going out there winning jobs.
Yeah.
Now, Mike Jones didn't play great last year, and he's going to be in there. So I could easily argue the other side, but I'm going to choose at this current juncture before we play a game to say, all right, I got a guy that I know can start, and he's not, so those guys must have played well.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a situation with a guy like Lamine Barrow, like just a good SEC linebacker, probably not going to make the all-SEC team, but you trust him out there to be making plays, and that's exactly kind of the camp that I had Baskerville in. I thought he's a guy that played in a lot of big-time SEC games, moment's not going to be too big, and he's going to be, be able to be a leader out on that defense, especially with, the lift that I saw from Damone Clark. I thought, Baskerville was a prime candidate to kind of have that leap going into this season, especially being his last year here. But, if the other guys are in there, it lets me see that they've been doing something right. You're not going to take the starting jobs and run out there with the reps if you're just stinking it up and not knowing what you're doing. So we'll see what Penn and Jones can bring, because I think they're going to be on a short leash. We're probably going to see a lot more than 2 linebackers playing.
Lamine cashed a few checks in Denver.
Oh, yeah.
You play for anybody else?
I'm not sure. I know he went to Denver, though.
You did go for Denver for a brief amount of time. So that's the first matchup that Knowles 247 thinks that Florida State can take advantage of, and I don't totally disagree with it, but we shall see. The second one is one that's been beaten into the ground, and we'll continue to talk about it a little bit. Florida State's defensive line against LSU's offensive line. They specifically pointed out a matchup between Derek McClendon or Dennis Briggs, both guys who are older players, against Will Campbell. And I have not seen in my time covering LSU, following LSU football, an offensive lineman have the sudden and, I don't have another adjective for it, but it's sudden rise that he had, where they had 10 practices in the spring, and Brian Kelly came out and said he's the left tackle and has never wavered for it for 1 second from April or whenever that was to now. Like, it is, I've never seen anything like that. So it lends me to believe that he's done a really good job. He is a true freshman, and I think dealing with 21, 22-year-old men when you're 18, 19 years old is a tall order.
Oh, yeah. No, it's definitely a tall order unless you're a special athlete, and I think that's the camp that Will comes from. You obviously know the attention he got as a high school recruit, and then he took that when he was supposed to be going to prom, and he's taken over the starting left tackle job at LSU, which I think is extremely impressive. And so, as daunting as it may sound and as daunting as it may be and as a big of a red flag as you may think it is, sometimes players are just different, especially at certain points in their careers. And I think, Will was just a lot more far advanced than a lot of left tackles we've ever seen, and that, put him in the running. I think a guy like Cam Wire, who's played a bunch of snaps at that position, I thought he would be a guy that be in the running for that. But, watching Will play and do all the things he's done in the run and the pass game, I think he's done a phenomenal job earning the job. And I think I want to see him go out there and play with success. I think he can do that.
It's not your position, but I'll ask, is it tougher on Will Campbell to block the guy that he's assigned to block, or to know which guy to block? Which of those things is more difficult as a true freshman going to his first game?
No, I think especially at this day and age, I would definitely go with the physical side. They have so many things to their advantage now to help these guys learn the offense so fast. And they're doing it. The coaches have way more times with the players, and what they're doing, I don't think is that far advanced, especially what they're going to be doing in the run game stuff. A lot of read option stuff. You're just blocking inside zone, and the pass protection stuff. If you're a left tackle, you're blocking the end rushing. It's not like it's going to be so daunting where you just can't. It's going to be overwhelmed with all the information, and so they're going to do a good job dumbing it down for them to make sure they know exactly what they're doing and they can play fast. So I think blocking Will Anderson on a Saturday afternoon is probably his toughest task to do, doing that over and over.
So we'll now switch over to the other article, which is the matchups that they think LSU has a very good chance to beat Florida State on. The first one he mentions is LSU's wide receivers versus Florida State's cornerbacks. Now, this is Brendan Sonnone of 247 saying it. I also watched a podcast, the Noelcast that Bud Elliott does. If you're familiar with the internet, Bud Elliott's been a pretty big name in the recruiting circles for 247 for over a decade. He said Florida State's corners looked terrible in the Duquesne game. Now, I'm not watching the All-22 cut, and Duquesne's not exactly, doing much to exploit that. But it was immediately what he brought up, and I said, wait a second. They don't have corners that can cover? Well, then you're going to have to sit back in an 8-man zone. If you can't cover, and that's a serious weakness, you don't have a chance. Then you're going to only be able to rush 3 or 4 guys, and LSU will probably be able to handle that.
Yeah, no, 100%. It'd be like going against one of those LSU Les Miles teams with no defensive line. You're just going to get ran for 340 yards. And for this team, it's the receivers. If you can't guard these guys and match up with these guys on the outside, they're going to make plays up and down the field. We've seen Kayshawn go for 300 on someone. That's still on the table when some of these guys get going. So I think if that's a matchup that they can't handle and these receivers are making plays and plays again, you're getting the ball out there, making guys miss. They can't hold up in space. It's going to take so much pressure off of these quarterbacks, and it's going to not end good for the Seminoles.
Amarian Cooper is their number 1 corner. He has been hurt, and Mike Norvell met with the media today. They asked him about Amarian Cooper. He said, yeah, I like what I see. We'll see as it progresses. He's probably going to play. But in this 247 story, Brennan Sonnone says that Greedy Vance was fairly meh, is the term he uses. Bud Elliott, on a different podcast, totally separate, said Vance has never proven that he was quote-unquote good. So this is two different guys who have Florida State bias that's built in, just like we have it too. I'm not calling anybody out. That's why I enjoy reading these things. They have two different guys saying, this secondary does not look good to me. And I had not seen that or read that anywhere until this morning, and it hit me twice when I read this story and listened to that podcast. So this is a significant concern of Florida State's, and that to me is a massive, massive issue for the Noles if that's the case. You got more on that?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say the only thing that I would say, I think I do like Jamie Robinson in the secondary, their safety. To me, he's their biggest playmaker. So if there was a guy that could step up and make some plays, it would be him. But I think the corners on the outside are the biggest cause for concern if you're Florida State. So I think Denbrock's going to try to find ways to take some shots and get these guys the ball.
And then you look at the other matchup, and it's the one that we've talked about a ton. It's Florida State's offensive line against LSU's defensive front. And, again, that they've had a center out. It was out last week. And Mike Norvell was asked about that center again today and said the exact same thing. He literally said, same answer. Like, I like what I see. We'll find out on Sunday. So we don't know what those guys look like. But this is LSU. If this game's going to get lopsided, either way, LSU is going to whitewash this Florida State offensive line. And if that happens, there's just nothing you can do. It's like, what was that Super Bowl? Was the Bucks just annihilating
the Chiefs?
The Chiefs. Mahomes just had nowhere to go at any point. That's kind of what it looks like. It's the same thing on almost every snap. And if you're going to try to run a pass play, you've got to max protect, and then you don't have enough guys in the route, and there's nowhere to throw it. And it's just, if you can't win at the line of scrimmage, and that's where every single person who breaks this game down looks at it and goes, LSU's way better there. And it's not like these guys in Baton Rouge have been like all-American players. They've just shown flashes and have some pedigree on the recruiting side of things. If you just put on the tape of Ollie Gay in his first game against Mississippi State 2 years ago, you're like, whoa, they can't block that guy. B.J. Ojulari at times has been a terror. Last year against Florida, he was flying off the edge and making plays. Mason Smith is just a 5-star who everybody loves his frame, and he's projectable on draft boards. Jaquelin Roy has had some highlight reel plays, but none of those guys has quite the skin on the wall that some others have. So maybe we're overstating it a little bit, but I do think that those guys are pros, and I think Florida State has some significant issues up front.
Yeah, no, I'm never going to downplay that, because that's what football is. You can't win a game. You can't get anything accomplished without the trench warfare, and you having advantages in that way. And if you have an offensive line that can hold up, you're not going to be able to run the ball. You're not going to be able to convert on third downs. It's just going to be very, very difficult to try to win a football game unless you got the 85 Bears defense out there and they're scoring some touchdowns. It's just going to look ugly for you, especially with this day and age in college football. So I think if you're LSU, you feel really, really great about that. Looking at those guys, you got so many guys getting preseason all SEC honors. You feel like those guys are going to have a phenomenal matchup. And to me, Ojulari getting 54 pressures last year, he's got to get after the quarterback. You got a healthy Ollie Gay, and we know what those guys up the middle are going to bring. So I'm going to be looking for that. I think that, to me, would probably be the most disheartening thing if those guys aren't as dominant as we've kind of been, prevailing them to be going into the season. Because if they aren't, I think things could go really, really bad for the Tigers for the whole season.
Yeah, I think we both have post-game obligations this year, or opportunities as they may be, and we'll both be on the air on Sunday night after this game goes final. I think the lead of those two post-game shows is going to be what offensive line gave their guys a chance. I think Jordan Travis is pretty good. I think they've got some wide receivers who got some ability, and clearly they've got some backs who can play. I think LSU's got a ton of playmakers, and they'll have the ability to take advantage of what we now believe to be some significant matchup advantages on the outside if the offensive line holds up. Neither offensive line is great, and the defensive fronts are good. Whichever one holds up and lets its guys go to work, is going to win the game. I think that's what it's going to sound like in the postgame.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think you could say that about a lot of games. That's just football as a whole. You got to have, good offensive line play, good defensive line play, because if either one goes out the window, things can go left really, really quickly. So I think for LSU, having those huge question marks with their offensive line, they're going to have, a lot of questions answered. And I think with the defensive line, it's going to be a lot of pressure on them to play to that level because, looking at the linebackers, looking at kind of the depth on the outside and the secondary, they're going to have to be the team's strong suit for this team to have success. And so they're going to be on the line to see what they can do this year. We're
not done with Noles and Tigers, but the story of the day, Marcus Maye, Saints starting safety, arrested overnight, aggravated assault with a firearm. It's just been a report. No further details have been made public to us. Luke Johnson, of course, covers the Saints beat. We'll ask him about what he knows and what it means for the Saints on the football field next on Hunt and Hill.
Hold down the middle of the day. This is Hunt and Hill.
Looking to get into a new ride? Check out the website, BayouFord.com. They've got the entire inventory of new and used vehicles all right there, and they make the car buying process so easy. You can check out the information, all the Carfax pricing, everything right there on the website. And then you can go ahead and customize the vehicle if you don't see exactly what you want. You can turn that vehicle around and deliver it right to your door in 2 to 3 months. Bayou Ford, so convenient when you become a customer.
Yeah, head over to BayouFord.com. They have the all-new 2022 Ford Expedition Timberline. It has a Ready Lift 3 kit on there. Also, all-new 2021 Ford F-150s. They're getting $14,000 off MSRP, including the Black Widow edition.
Doesn't cost anything to just go in there and check it out. Just go to the website, check out what they've got, and it changes day to day, week to week as the inventory turns over. They update that website each and every day. So check out the website at BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, they're going to do right by you.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Vizzy, the first hard seltzer with antioxidant vitamin C. It just hits different. Vizzy, step up your seltzer game.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at revelryteam.com. Revelry Sports, the official tailgate partner of LSU Athletics.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
For a doubleheader of college football on Saturday. First, the Georgia Bulldogs host the Oregon Ducks at 2:30 p.m. Then the Mississippi State Bulldogs host the Memphis Tigers at 6:30 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I can't speak for all beat writers, but I think I can speak for a lot of them. You know, game notes are fun to go over, and you enjoy that, and you like going over stat sheets, maybe checking out some game film. Not as much fun when you got to start looking into arrest warrants and court documents and the like. And every once in a while it does happen. It appears that may be happening down there in New Orleans. We welcome in Luke Johnson. Luke, obviously the story of the day, Marcus Maye arrested overnight for assault with a firearm. What do you know?
All right, well, here's what we know so far, or at least, this is all alleged, and
right.
This is what's coming from the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, and Marcus Maye's attorney has already issued a pretty strong denial of what happened. But Monday afternoon, Maye was allegedly involved in a road rage incident where he was driving a black SUV, and he pointed a handgun at a car full of juvenile women. So not a great look by that statement from the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. He was arrested this morning. And he was released after posting a $30,000 bond. So that's the facts of it as we know it currently. And obviously we're going to be digging into this a little bit more, and maybe have some statements from the Saints side of things, and But look, man, this is obviously not the type of thing you want to happen if you're the Saints. I mean, ever. You never ever want your players involved in this sort of thing, and you certainly don't want to have, one of your starting defensive players involved in this sort of thing, like 9 days before the start of the season. It's pretty bad all around.
Right on the heels of trading a defensive back to the Eagles, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, earlier this week. And so now you had a secondary that was as deep and as talented and as balanced as any in the National Football League. On the field, if Marcus Maye misses significant time or any time, what does that do to the secondary?
Well, obviously, it's just it's one player less deep right now, and I think their depth was really a strength for much of training camp, and I think it was still there's still pretty strong unit there after trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think they had some really nice players that fill into that spot that C.J. was going to occupy, and I don't think they were going to have this big drop off. But now you're talking about taking two starting players out of there, and you got another one in Paulson Adebo who's dealing with an injury. So, what was once like a position of really solid strength for this team has become a little bit of a question mark.
I think
they've got PJ Williams can step in and play some safety. He's done a nice job there in the past. They like what Justin Evans has done, and Evans was a former high draft pick. He just hasn't played in the NFL for 4 years after dealing with a bunch of injuries, and they got some question marks there.
Even with the trade of CD Deuce, you felt like the win total probably wouldn't be affected that much. Let's say the worst thing happens with this Marcus Maye situation. How much do you think that's going to really hurt the win total for the season?
It's tough to say because we didn't really get to see a lot of them. I think we saw a little bit of them in training camp, and you see some nice things that he's able to do with Tyrann Mathieu. But look, they were still taking a bit of a gamble with Marcus Maye because though he's been a very good player in the past, he was coming off an Achilles injury that he had in November of last year. He's probably going to be taking a little bit of time to get up to full strength, anyways. It's really tough to say like how much worse their defense is going to be without a starting safety in there, especially when you factor in losing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in a trade. But I think it's safe to say that it is going to be worse. It's just it's a matter of how much worse.
Where does P.J. Williams factor in all this?
I mean, I think he's a guy who they would just kind of envision plugging and playing wherever they needed him. If any one of their starters went down, if one of their outside corners went down, I think you could pretty easily imagine Bradley Roby sliding outside and P.J. Williams playing in the slot. If one of their safeties went down, I think P.J. was the next guy up there. So, obviously we'll have to kind of wait and see how they line up. Especially next week when we kind of start getting a better idea of what they're going to look like. But if Marcus Maye is going to have to miss time, and I imagine at some point he's going to have to miss some time here. I think PJ is probably the guy who fills that role.
Last year we saw them go with Jameis Winston, and he have one of the lower pass attempts that we saw in all of football last year. Do you think with all the guys missing on defense, they kind of go back to that style of play, even with the receivers they have on offense?
No, I don't think so. I think they trust the guys they have back there. Look, I think they're not going to be as good defensively, but I still think they're going to be pretty good. They still have studs at all three levels, I think. You can cover up some of the stuff you're going to be missing without Marcus Maye if he is indeed required to miss some time. But I think offensively, part of that last year was not just related to their defense being so good and that being the strength of their team, but it was also because their skill position players were atrocious, and their offensive line was dealing with a ton of injuries. And I think the safer play was to run the ball and play some ball control offense and not have Jameis dropping back 40 times a game and getting risk being pressured and making bad throws. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I would imagine they kind of open things up, let Jameis sling it around a little bit more. I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of 21, 22, 25 attempt games. I think it's going to be more kind of in line with his last two full starts where he had, I think, 30 and 35 pass attempts in those games.
Luke Johnson of The Advocate, our guest at @Luke Johnson on Twitter. Anything surprise you when they cut down to 53?
I think, initially I was kind of surprised by the linebackers. We still really don't know whether Pete Werner is going to be there in week one. I think there's optimism toward that end, but we don't know for sure. And then, he's missed so much time in training camp, and then the four guys they had kind of cycling in, replacing him in the starting lineup, all four of those guys got cut. Eric Wilson, Nephi Sewell, John Bostic, and Chase Hansen. I think we all were kind of anticipating one or two of those guys would make the 53, and then none of them did. But three of them are back on the practice squad. I imagine in the next day or two, they're going to be shuffling the roster around a little bit more. I think there's going to be some guys going on injured reserve. Trevor Penning's definitely one of them. It's going to create some roster spots for him, and I would imagine, whether they're just like straight up call ups from the practice squad or whether they're signed to the 53. I imagine some of that is going to be one of those kind of weak side linebackers. But it was surprising. I was really anticipating a couple of those guys were going to make it, and none of them did.
You going to make it in the Dome on Sunday?
Who knows, man? I think if I try to plan anything out ahead of time, I was just sorely reminded today that that's just a terrible idea. So we'll see. I've got a couple big stories that I'm writing that should be out next week. I'm trying to get them done by Friday so I can actually enjoy myself and not worry about whether I have to report on an arrest and have a couple beers and drown my old alma mater, but we'll see.
The life of the beat writer in season, really almost any time, because you can never know when something like this is going to happen. We appreciate you jumping on. Have a good weekend. We'll talk some football next week.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Talk to you soon.
Luke Johnson from The Advocate @ Luke Johnson. That's a crummy feeling. I haven't been on a day-to-day beat in a long time, but I remember there was a report out that Kevin Gosman wasn't going to sign with the Orioles when he was taken in the top 10. Mm-hmm. And then I was sitting at dinner with my then girlfriend at the time, and I had to get up from dinner and start making calls. There's no way this is going to happen, but that's far cry from an arrest of a starting player. And that arrest story, and we know innocent until proven guilty. They've come out with a strong denial from the attorney, and I get the whole thing. And we'll see when the actual facts come out, and then there's whatever the resolution is. But if that is the story, and he got cranky on the road and pulled a gun out with a car of underage girls, not great. Not great.
You talk about optics, and it seems like the NFL, that's kind of what they care about, the optics of everything. Not if he even he skates off with no charges, they drop everything. The optics of what that looks like. You're going to see a lot of upset Americans when they hear that story. So the NFL's going to do something about it. So to me, I just don't think this one is going to go well. We've kind of had some lucky Saints go the other way. This one I don't feel good about this, and I think he's definitely going to miss some time.
I do feel good about some news we're going to get later today. We will talk about that to finish out hour number 1. Next, it's Hunt and Hill.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
FanDuel wants you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers can get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week 1. Just place a $5 bet and you can get up to $150 in free bets, win or lose.
We got live football tonight. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You can live bet during the game. So if you see a trend while you're watching the game, you're like, oh, I think Pitt's about to take it to West Virginia. That line's going to change by the minute. You can jump on there and live bet the game, do a same-game parlay to get a bigger payout. And look, it's easy to use. They're always hooking you up with great odds, and when you win, you get paid fast. So see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app today. Sign up with the promo code 1045ESPN and place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off your college football season. That's promo code 1045ESPN. You must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable free bet. It expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. You or somebody who knows a gambling problem and wants help. Call 1-877-770-STOP.
This week on DropBiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out neworleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
As a community bank, B1 Bank invests in relationships with the people and businesses we proudly represent. Our B1 bankers are here to help simplify the complicated, understand your needs, and make managing your finances easier. At B1 Bank, we offer an array of solutions to help simplify your transaction needs. B1 Bank, one highly personal banking experience. Visit us online at b1bank.com for more information.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We'll talk Seminoles with Jeff Cameron, and we'll talk Saints with Mike Triplett. Join us for AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing up shop here, hour number 1 of Hunt and Hill on a Thursday. Tiger football program expecting some good news coming up this evening. Zalance Hurd, big offensive tackle from Neville up in Fun Row, will make his college announcement. All signs in the recruiting world pointing to LSU. We shall see when the announcement comes. But On3 Sports in their database has Zalance Hurd as a 5-star, the number 13 player in the nation. You consider that last year Will Campbell and Zalance Hurd were on the same offensive line. That's pretty good up there in Neville. That's pretty good.
Oh, no, that's really great. That's just utter domination you're going to see at the high school level. And to me, I don't know. I hate to kind of project things in crystal ball. It's not my cup of tea, but to me, this one just all signs are pointing to him coming to LSU. And I think if they can secure this it's definitely. I can't see how you wouldn't be in the top 5 instantly if this guy signs to the Tigers. And it's going to make this recruiting class look just absolutely insane, especially with what I was talking about, them kind of getting the skill positions of players that you would like, but kind of offensive line kind of be, a position that you kind of want to get a little more depth in. If you go get this kid, it's going to make that recruiting class look extremely, extremely potent.
You obviously really like what you've got at Will Campbell, who's starting his career at the left tackle. We'll see what he is this year, but you figure in his time at LSU, he's going to be an excellent player. We love what we've seen from Emory Jones in his first camp here in Baton Rouge, and then if you can add Zalance Hurd to the mix right behind those guys, you really feel like you've got the makings of one of those Brian Kelly offensive lines like he continuously rolled through at Notre Dame, where it was the strength of their team, and they pumped guys into the first, second, and third round year after year after year, profiling off of this long, lean frame that can add muscle over time. And Zalance Hurd fits that at 6'5.5", 305. He's just he's a guy that LSU really, really needs to get, and all signs are pointing that direction. We were talking about Campbell and Hurd being on the same offensive line. It brings me back to watching tape of Trey Turner and Jonah Austin on the same offensive line at St. Aug with freshman Leonard Fournette running behind him. It's like, that is a handful.
Yeah, you're gonna want a lot of high school football games with that much talent on the roster, and so I think I like what Coach Kelly's doing right now. You see him just bring that influx of all guys with Louisiana ties, and now he's starting to put those guardrails around the state like I really love to see my LSU coach like to have. And so if you continue to do that, I know when we were looking at it over the summer, like, man, we're looking at this top 15 players, like we don't really have many guys in this top 15, but slowly but surely, Coach Kelly and the staff have kept it up, and they've been continue to beat that drum, and then they're slowly, putting that ironclad fence around the state. And so I think this is another guy that's going to join that LSU committee.
This is a grossly dangerous thing to do. It's borderline reckless to do, but in the era of the transfer portal, and we know that a lot of guys in high school that are great recruits, sometimes it just doesn't work out. But allow me to think like this: if I've got an offensive front that's got Will Campbell on it, it's got Emory Jones on it, it's got Zalance Hurd on it, I got Walker Howard back there taking some snaps, Shelton Sampson, the young player. It starts to look okay. It starts to look pretty good. I kind of like the way that I like the way things are sounding that way.
No, you definitely want it to sound that way because, it could definitely go the other way, and you're finishing with the 20 recruiting class in the country. You're finishing 18, and you're trying to find a way to pump that purple and gold, but it's not looking as great as you want to see. So I think anytime you start your first full year in this recruiting cycle and you're right at 6 and 7 in all these national polls and you have a chance to be in the top 5, that's how you compete for national championships. You get the best players in the country, then you follow that with getting the best players in your state, and you put that with a great recruiting class together and then a great coaching staff. That's how you win football games. And I think Coach Kelly knows that.
Yeah, LSU right now 6 or 7 in the country in recruiting, depending on where you look, and you figure you can pull in a 5-star, high 4-star recruit. You could be in the top 5 in some of these services if things fall the way they're supposed to tonight, and that's exactly where you'd like to be. Right now, LSU sitting with 21 commitments. Zalance Hurd would be the 22nd commitment. and would be one of the most important that LSU would have reeled in this class. You've got to win up front at the offensive line, and right now you've got some young players you really think are good. You'd love to add Zalance Hurd to that number as well. LSU does have, let's see, as I look through their class, they got Tyree Adams from St. Aug, 6'5", 285 pounds on the offensive line, committed in this class, and Paul Mbenga, who is from Buford, Georgia, 6'4", 280 pounds, same type, long, lean frame that we were talking about. So this would be the third add to LSU's offensive line if they could get it tonight. So we will probably mention this tomorrow if it all goes according to plan this evening, but we wanted to get out in front of it today and get you ready for it. So Zalance Hurd will commit to school of his choice later on today. That'll do it for our first hour here of Hunt and Hill. Crank things up. If you missed the news of the day, Marcus Maye, Saints safety, arrested in the wee hours of this morning for allegedly aggravated assault with a firearm. Luke Johnson talked to us a little bit about it at 1:30. If you missed any of that, catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com or on YouTube or on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcast, you can find it. We also talked a little LSU and Florida State at 1:15 as well. We're going to talk some ball coming back in hour number 2. We got a lot of football tonight. Heavy menu, a couple SEC teams in action, a Big Ten game. We will talk about all of that. I want to talk LSU secondary coming up and best win on the board this weekend. Come back with this hour 2. Hunt and Hill.
I am Juliet, daughter of Marguerite, granddaughter of Gabriel Piera. I come from a line of strong women who knew struggle and success too. Still, I was scared by my breast cancer diagnosis, but I had Blue Cross coverage, which meant I got care from top doctors. I'm strong like my mother and her mother before her. The right card, the right care.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Broncos will sign quarterback Russell Wilson to a 5-year, $245 million extension. His deal now runs through 2028 and includes $165 million guaranteed, the third most in NFL history. Could that deal move the needle on a new Lamar Jackson contract with the Ravens? ESPN's Jamison Hensley.
I think the best kind of the sweet spot for a deal to happen is after the season and before March 7th, as that's when they have to put the franchise tag on Lamar. I think between that point, I think is the time when a lot of negotiations, when that franchise tag deadline is out there, you know there's a lot of urgency.
Jamison Hensley on Barton Hahn. Free agent pitcher Carlos Martinez gets an 85-game suspension for violating MLB's domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy. Serena and Venus Williams play a first-round doubles match at the U.S. Open tonight. Live coverage at 7 Eastern on ESPN2.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. We're close, convenient, and known for our guaranteed everyday low prices and excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
1, 2, 3. Hunt and Hill. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, it's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hour 2 on a Thursday, Hunt and Hill. Appreciate you making us part of your day. Here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Football season inching ever closer. They will play a lot of meaningful football this evening. Our Citizens Bank poll question of the day. What game you watching tonight? Tennessee, Ball State, Purdue, Penn State, Pitt, West Virginia. Maybe some of you are trying to find Louisiana Tech in Missouri. Might be looking for a little Central Michigan, Oklahoma State, whatever it may be. But check it out on our Citizens Bank poll question of the day on Twitter at 104.5 ESPN. I want to start today with Tennessee and Ball State for the sole reason of I think it's the best bet on the board tonight. When these high-level teams are very, very potent on offense, these lower-level teams can't keep up. And it just gets ugly, and they get tired, and they keep executing. And I think Tennessee is going to absolutely beat the brakes off Ball State today. Ball State, in two magazines I read, are picked last in their division in the MAC. I don't know how deep these magazines dive into MAC football or how accurate that may be. They may win the MAC for all I care. They're not winning tonight, and Hendon Hooker and the Vols are going to be going fast. They're going to be fired up. They're going to be playing hard, and they are going to cover 35.5 with ease, in my opinion. This has got 63-13 written all over it.
Look, they may score 35 in the first quarter.
Yes.
They're going to be going extremely fast. It's really just going to be what Ball State's offense can do. Can they control a little time of possession? Because if they can't, Hendon Hooker's going to be rolling. I know he's going to get some all-SEC consideration with the numbers he could put up this season possibly. So I think this is going to create an avenue to keep that Tennessee buzz going a little bit, put a ton of points on the board, and it's just not going to be looking good for Ball State.
I mentioned this yesterday, but my college roommates are from Memphis, and they've got some close friends that went to Tennessee. And I'm in a SEC pick'em with those guys. We've got a constant group text going. You pick 10 games a weekend. They throw the Memphis game in there, whatever. I'm in the group text, and there are a couple of just die-hard Vols in there. And every single year they just get so excited. And I talk about this. They dominate in November because they beat Missouri and they beat Kentucky and they beat Vandy and they play in some garbage bowl game where they beat Pittsburgh or NC State or whoever, or Boston College, and they think they've got it figured out. We got it. We're moving in the right direction. And then inevitably they show up, and in September Florida beats them and Georgia beats them, and then they go nowhere. The cycle has been going for 15 years. And finally today we got the text. This is the last year I'm doing this. We are officially back. And I side texted a couple of my buddies that are LSU guys. I was like, editor's note, they're probably not back.
Look, man, this is the only time of the year where everyone's 0-0. Yep. The sunshine and rainbows are
August, baby.
Look, man, ex Taylor Sharp, he knows more than Cowboy fans. This is like home for them. This is like their peak of powers right now. Right before the season, 0-0. We're going to do it. We're back. Texas back. Everyone's back. No, everyone's not going to be back. And unfortunately for Ball State, you're about to get a 70 ball put on your head tonight.
I love Tennessee in that game at 35.5. So we're going to pick every SEC game this year. So you got the Vols tonight, 35.5.
Covering. Trying to see here. No, I just can't see it, man. No, I got Tennessee covering. I'm trying to convince myself. I just can't even convince
myself. I think Jay Letterman went to Ball State. Go with the Fighting Jay Lettermans? No, I don't think so.
No.
All right. So we both like Tennessee. On the other end of the SEC pendulum, Missouri hosts Louisiana Tech from up in Ruston. Rough year for the Dogs last year, but they went out, hired a new coach. They're going to sling it around a little bit with Sonny Cumbie calling the shots over there at Louisiana Tech. So the line on this one for Missouri, 20.5. Right under that 21-point pressure point. But I still think Missouri is big boys and Louisiana Tech is not. So I will take Missouri and lay the points as well. I'm not a huge bettor, but I do pay attention to the lines and I've always listened to Jimmy's show and whatnot and was in with Lock of the Week and all that kind of stuff. And so I rode Dan Mullen a lot in early season games at Mississippi State when they would play Middle Tennessee or somebody, Arkansas State or whoever it may have been. And his offense is good, and they would just start cooking, and they just blow these teams out. I loved betting some of these teams that aren't great teams, but they just got better dudes than the other team, and I just don't think 20.5 is enough, so I'm going to go with Missouri this evening.
I'm going to take a quote from my boy Dion back when he was on NFL Network and say, I believe in Eli, man. I'm believing Eli just against La Tech. That's it. That's about it. I think they're going to handle business against there. I don't know how much further I can go past that. But, yeah, I think we know big-time SEC boys. I just don't see La Tech scoring enough. I think even late they probably be a late cover. Probably La Tech hang around a little bit, maybe in the first half. But I think Mizzou's going to be too much.
Another La Tech issue is if they're going to put this air raid in and I don't know how committed they are to that. I know that's what Cumbie's grown up in, but if they're committed to that air raid and you start going 3 and out a couple times, it will put a significant struggle on what's probably not a very talented defense. So give me Missouri with the SEC guys. Probably the game that will get the most eyeballs tonight is Penn State and Purdue. It's a conference game. And these two teams are, I think, pretty balanced. The number's only 3.5. It's in Purdue. Penn State has been bad the last 2 years. The COVID year, they got off to a horrendous start. Last year, never really got out of neutral either. So Sean Clifford is an exceptionally experienced quarterback. He's coming back for his 413th year at Penn State. He's just not that good in my estimation. Like he's been incredibly pedestrian for a few years. I thought he made a couple of nice throws in the Auburn game last year that really helped them, and we'll certainly get a closer look at Penn State when they do come down to the Plains and play Auburn. But you're talking about a team in Penn State that returns 6 starters on both sides of the ball. But I see a program that just has dropped off a couple of notches from where they were in the Saquon years and the Trace McSorley years under James Franklin.
Yeah.
They're going to have to prove to me they're back there before I start taking them a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, especially last year starting the season when they got that big win over Auburn, I thought, possibly they could, make a little hay, cover some ground here a little bit, but just not the success, man. You have a lot of those big-time wideouts. You expect them to, take full advantage of that, but just not the level you would want to see from a team that's, perennially ranked. And I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, they're not ranked going into the season, if I can remember correctly.
Nope.
It's been a very long time since they've gone into a season not ranked. And so I'm actually going to take Penn State to cover here. I think they're going to cover.
Lay the points.
Yeah. I think they can cover, and I got Penn State there.
So, I mean, like Penn State last year finished the season 7-6. Purdue last year was 9-4. They return 9 defensive starters, Purdue does, and they bring back their quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, who got some preseason all-conference love. He's in Brom's system, which has been pretty successful there in terms of running a high-powered offense at Purdue. Last year, they've been in the either first or second in the Big Ten the last 4 years in passing, and they bring back a senior quarterback. So I got a defense that's bringing back a lot of guys, and a quarterback they think is one of the best in the league, certainly not C.J. Stroud, but one of the best in the Big Ten. And they won 9 games last year, and they're at home, and they're getting points. I'm taking Purdue against Penn State, and I'll take my points in the Boilers.
Yeah, I could see that, man. Look, Penn State have led a lot to be desired, especially – when Franklin was getting all that buzz, especially what he did at Vanderbilt, and they've had some good season, but not, getting over the hump, and it's very difficult to do what Ohio State's built in that conference. But I think against Purdue, I don't know, man. So I'm going to just go with Penn State just for the sake of it, man. I got Penn State.
I like it. All right. Maybe one of the most underrated rivalries in college football is the backyard brawl. It's Pitt and West Virginia. We all love this rivalry because of what it gave us in 2007 when Geno Smith Pat White and Steve Slayton were setting records with Rich Rod up there at West Virginia, and they just had to beat Pitt to go to the national championship game, and they lost, and it left the door open for LSU to go to the national championship game against Ohio State. But this is a humorous rivalry to me because when LSU played at West Virginia in 2011, I went up there and stayed in Pittsburgh, which was very nice, by the way. Pittsburgh, I was thinking it was going to be like a dusty old, construction city, blue collar, and there's a lot of that, but it was just downtown was gorgeous. Right there on the river, PNC Park was incredible. I was blown away. I thought Pittsburgh was great. West Virginia, Morgantown, not as great. It looked to me like nothing had changed in Morgantown since 1953. It was just a kind of a rundown looking place. Now, the environment in the game was incredible. It was really, really good. But it's the big city against the country boys of Morgantown, and they don't like each other one bit. I went to a restaurant in Morgantown, and they had something on the menu. They had all the burgers listed on the menu, and they had the Pittsburgher, which it said in the description, 2 stale pieces of bread, no meat, no toppings. It was like, okay, I got you, West Virginia. You don't like Pittsburgh. I feel you. So you got both USC quarterbacks, Keaton Slovis and JT Daniels in this one. Who you like in the backyard brawl?
I'm gonna go with JT, man. I think he can get the job done. I'm gonna go with West Virginia. I think he's been around the country a little bit. He's got a little Southern twang, got a little West Coast twang. Now he's get to go to West Virginia and try that out a little bit. But for the better quarterback, I just think he's a little better. He has a little higher ceiling than Slovis. So I'm gonna go with West Virginia and my boy Daniels.
Yeah, they're catching 7.5 up there at Pittsburgh. The question is, did Pittsburgh just have a Biletnikoff Award winner and a first-round type quarterback, or are they moving in the right direction here? Is Pittsburgh a program that can go ahead and plug and play and maintain that level where they were at the top of the ACC last year? I have my doubts about that, but I have my doubts about Neil Brown's West Virginia program that hasn't really gotten out of neutral either. I don't know that it was left in a great spot, by Dana Holgorsen. But they haven't been very good the last few years. So I'll take Pittsburgh at home and lay the points. I don't feel super awesome about it. But I will probably flip over to that because once Tennessee gets up 35-0 or whatever it is, I'm probably going to lose a little bit of interest in that. And I don't think I'm going to watch much Missouri. So I think I'll probably flip over. I think Purdue, Penn State will occupy more of my time, but there'll be a little bit of time for West Virginia, Pittsburgh, I think, this evening. Where would you go on your answer for Citizens Bank poll question? Tennessee game? You going with Purdue, Penn State? You going with West Virginia, Pittsburgh? To watch tonight.
Been to Pittsburgh too many times to admit, and a lot of times going on the other side, so I do not miss going to that Heinz. It's not even called Heinz. Like, what are we doing with sports
I forgot
anymore?
What it's called now.
Some insurance company or something that it's called now. So we can't even call it Heinz Field anymore.
It's a big ketchup bottle.
So I guess Indiana. I guess I gotta go check out my boy Eli since I believe in him. Take a trip.
You're gonna watch Missouri Tech. I doubt that very seriously.
I'll try to see, man, because I've been which one? I guess, but I said I'm going to. I guess Tennessee, man. Go to the Vols. I'll go to the Navy twice.
That's what I'll be watching until it gets well out of hand. If you got a best bet of the day, that is it for me. Tennessee rolling Ball State. All right, we'll take a timeout. I want to talk some LSU secondary when we get back. We'll do that next on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating a different champion of Louisiana each and every month. The month changed over. It is September. That means it's time for us to tell you about Metamore.
Yeah, Metamore, an institute dedicated to the study and treatment of metabolic disease and obesity, has been celebrated by LWCC as a champion of Louisiana. Located in Baton Rouge on the campus of Pennington Biomedical, Metamore is a one-of-one-kind facility joining science, clinical research, and a variety of treatment modalities under a single roof to create a worldwide institute. Metamore's work stands to spur economic activity in the life of science sector here in Baton Rouge and to improve health across the globe. And it's all starting here in Louisiana.
Metamore is awesome. They have bettered the lives of so many Louisianians who are fighting obesity. And Metamore is doing their part to help Louisianians win that battle. And that's certainly one that we fight more than most down here in Louisiana. And Metamore is helping us to better ourselves as the state of Louisiana. It again, more than 6,200 patients have been treated by Metamore in 2021. It is truly an awesome, awesome organization over there at Pennington, and we're thrilled to tell you about them all month long here on Hunt and Hill. LWCC, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana all month long. This month, we'll tell you about Metamore, this month's champion of Louisiana.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance. This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Jimmy on and Charles Hannegriff for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Jolie Pearl downtown. Football season. That's right. We kick off the college football season week 1 tomorrow at Jolie Pearl. Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In general, how do you feel about LSU's secondary this year? Just general terms.
If someone made me put a word, looking at every guy from safeties to corners to nickels, I'd say solid. I'd say solid.
I'll tell you this. We know that these guys have played a lot. Shout out to LSU Sports Information. I was going through the game notes today, which actually felt great to comb through some game notes, throw the highlighter down on them. It gave me really, I feel like I was in the middle of it. This is a lot. The transfers that came in to LSU have started 165 college games. Jarek Bernard-Converse, 47 starts. Mekhi Garner, 19 starts. Colby Richardson, 21 starts. Sevin Banks, 14 starts. Greg Brooks, 31 starts. Joe Fouché, 33 starts. That's a lot, especially when you consider we didn't play a ton of football in 2020.
Yeah.
165 starts.
Yeah.
That's a lot of football to be played.
I would love to see how many starts you had in the secondary for that Texas Bowl and compared to what it is
4.
now. Yeah, you got my boy Pitt Gage out there holding it down. But yeah, I think for me, that's why I said solid. It's not, any, Thorpe Award winners in that room or any guys you feel like it's going to be an All-American, even though Converse got some preseason All-American love. So I think a bunch of solid players who played in SEC and played around college football. And I think with a coach that can put them in position to make plays, I don't think it's going to be a situation where you're going to see, hopefully, I'm not jinxing anything, but any KJ Costello situation where this secondary just gives up, 400, 500 yards. I think they got enough good players that can make enough plays, especially with the D-line, that they're going to have getting after the quarterback. I think they can do a good enough job to make plays.
I'm concerned, and it's not the most rational concern ever, but it's just the way I feel. I'm used to Ricks and Stingley and Fulton and Delpit and Jamal Adams and Trey White, and that's the corners and safeties I'm used to. LaRon Landry, Corey, Patrick. I mean, you know the names. I'm not breaking any news here. That's what I'm used to. And when I think in my head, I go, he's from McNeese. He's from Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah.
He was at Arkansas. Maybe it's grossly unfair. They're probably better than I think. They're probably, as I said, these guys have started a ton of football.
Yeah.
They're probably, and I watched highlight tapes on Joe Fouché and Greg Brooks today at Arkansas, and they make some plays. There's no doubt. And Mekhi Garner, you go out there and look at him, it's like, damn, that's a big dude.
Yeah.
I'm used to having all pros out there, and I don't know how many pros I got.
Look, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think if we think of Ole Miss and think of their secondary from last year, and especially the defense they had going into the year before when Max just threw for 1,000 million yards and Kayshawn just totally went off. They won 10 games last year, so you don't have to have, Patrick Peterson and this guy and that guy.
It's just more fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more fun. Definitely, I'll tell you this, you'll sleep a lot better on Friday nights going into game days when you got those guys in the secondary, but it's not the end of the world. I think you can still find ways to win games on Saturdays with great coaching and finding ways to keep your guys out of harm's way. So as much as I would love to have those guys in the room, as much as I love Mr. Eli Durant to not take his talents to Alabama and my boy Dwight going up to Arkansas, it's just – I think you got to trust the coaches and see what those guys are, because like you said, those guys have played a lot of football, and I think if there's anything that you can feel good about is that you got a lot of experience in that secondary.
You do. You have a ton. And you also have a lot of size in that secondary. Jarek Bernard-Converse is pretty big. Mekhi Garner is huge. And Colby Richardson is well over 6 feet tall, has really long arms. When we watched Florida State play over the weekend, you saw the size they have out at wide receiver. You see guys like Micah Pittman, Ontario Wilson, Malik McLean, Ja'Kai Douglas. They got some big frames out there. I'm trying to see how I want to frame that question. It's like, does LSU have a good matchup there because Florida State's bigger and LSU has bigger corners?
Yeah, I think you always got to feel great about when you have bigger corners that can match up with bigger wide receivers, because there's going to be red zone situations, there are going to be goal line situations, and there's going to just be matchups on third downs where if you got a 5'7" corner on a 6'4" receiver, they're just going to give that guy back shoulder and just convert the sticks. And so I think if you are in a situation where you do like to have man, you can match up your guys with guys that match up well with them, and I think that's what the best secondaries have. They got guys that can guard whatever position. If you got that guy, a slot guy like Micah Pittman, a smaller receiver who's more shifty, you got guys like Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché who you can put on some of those guys. So you can mix and match, and I think with both of the safeties, with Jay Ward and Burns, those guys are multiple. You can put those guys in the box. You can keep them high, and so you got a lot of experience and guys that can guard a lot of different positions.
Yeah, I wonder what the role for Brooks and Sage Ryan is in this game. They are small. They're just smaller players, and they're really quick, and there's a role for them in the slot. You mentioned Pittman as a guy that they may see some of, but you don't want to run into a mismatch where you get a 6'7" wide receiver, which Florida State will trot out there on Greg Brooks. Like that, you've got a bit of an issue there. So it's that's why tight ends have so much success when they work on nickel corners. So I'm curious how you think that matchup's going to go on Sunday with the wide receivers at Florida State.
Yeah, I like if I had to favor someone right now, I would favor LSU for two reasons. One, I think the defensive line, and I just still feel that way. I know their offensive line has a lot of questions. I know we've been just pumping this defensive line out of this world, but I think anytime you create a world of panic for a quarterback, it just makes it so difficult to throw the ball down the field consistently. You pair that up with what type of quarterback they have, and I think that's a quarterback who ideally wants to be heavily in that read option game, and he wants to be heavy in that big play action game where you're really getting time to throw the football. If you're disrupting that with a quarterback who really isn't comfortable throwing the ball 40 times a game, I'm going to have to favor LSU in that scenario. And so I got LSU favoring that matchup.
So look at the corners that LSU, the secondary pieces that LSU brought in, and I mentioned that they've started 165 games in their time in Baton Rouge. You add that with Jay Ward, who's played a lot of football himself. You got a lot of starts coming back in that secondary. So you would think you've got a fairly cerebral group that could grasp the defense and would be in the right place. LSU, for far too often the last 2 years, has been totally out of position. Hopefully those days are a little bit in the rearview mirror, and the Tigers will find themselves in the right place. Even if you don't have a bunch of All-Americans out there, hopefully you got guys who are where they're supposed to be, which is step one in making plays. So we've got a lot more of LSU and Florida State to talk about. We'll dive deeper into it tomorrow. When we come back, we're going to do this segment each and every Thursday. We're going to look at the entire board. We don't have an NFL board this week, but we do have a college board this week. Look at the best win out there on the board, the worst loss possible on the board out there. We'll do that next on Hunt and Hill.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
They're back. Reliable Roofing and Construction. You can catch them at reliableroofingbr.com. It is storm season. It's been a great storm season thus far. Knock on every piece of wood you can find. But in the event that something does happen, Reliable Roofing needs to be the first name that comes to mind.
Yeah, so happy to tell you guys about Reliable Roofing, a family-run, owned, and operated residential roofing company. They've been in business since 2008 with over 30 years of roofing experience.
Lionel Hayes, born and raised here. He owns Reliable Roofing and Construction. He's going to visit every single site when his crew is done to give his stamp of approval. And when they're done, they're going to clean that place up like it was brand new. Go to reliableroofingbr.com. You can see on the website all the before and after pictures, the great work that they do in our listening area. If you need someone to come out and inspect your roof, you need a new roof, Reliable Roofing and Construction needs to be your call. Check out the website, reliableroofingbr.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
They said I was small, weak, said my heart wasn't strong enough. But I showed them what heart looked like. Again and again and again. Mom got me the right care, the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Don't let people tell you who you are. Show them the right card, the right care.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
The prep football season, and we get started at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview, presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Catholic High and Our Lady of Good Counsel kick off at 7, immediately followed by the Lake Urgent Care Lake After Hours Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show. On YouTube, your view at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
30 minutes left in our Thursday show. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on Hunt and Hill. Every Thursday at 2:30, we're going to do best win and worst loss on the board for college football and the NFL. Of course, no NFL this weekend, so we will start with the college slate. Give you any game, Jeremy Hill. What is the best win on the board?
Best win on the board. I had to do some thinking about this one, but I actually went with Oregon over Georgia. I think if Oregon somehow finds a way to take down the defending national champs after, taking the defensive coordinator from Georgia, I think that'd be a great way to start that landing era for that Oregon program, obviously for recruiting for so many reasons. And then you're going to feel really great about them winning the Pac-12 if they can somehow beat the number 2 team in the country. So I think if Oregon somehow finds a way to beat Georgia in that first game, I think that'd be the best win of the week.
It would be huge for Oregon. It would be huge for the Pac-12. They've been on the outside looking in a couple of years now, and, we've seen them get Washington in the playoff, and they have gotten in, but it's going to be tough. Everybody thinks Utah is the team to point to right now, but if Oregon could go, fly across the country to Atlanta and beat Georgia there, that would be a huge statement. And you think if Oregon could win that game, it would give them such a big out-of-conference win. They could afford a hiccup in Pac-12 play as long as they went on and won the Pac-12. You could stub your toe against somebody here and there, and you'd still be in good shape because of that non-conference win. That's the beauty of getting the win. The loss doesn't kill you, but you got to run the table. So I think you're probably right there. That's a huge one for Oregon to go ahead and win that game. I'm going to go with Notre Dame over Ohio State. Look, we all look at Notre Dame's schedule, and we furl our eyebrow a little bit because they don't have a conference, and, you play Navy again? And like you roll your eyes at Notre Dame a little bit. But they do play Clemson again this year. They need those marquee wins, Notre Dame does, because they're not going to win a conference. So to get in the playoff, you're going to have something that catches the committee's eyes. Going to the shoe and beating Ohio State would do it. And that certainly in a short term, trying to get to the playoff is priority one. But they believe they've turned over a new leaf. How much have we heard down here about how Brian Kelly had run his course there, and they're glad he's not there because he couldn't recruit.
Driscoll.
Now they got Marcus Freeman, and he's going to be the guy that recruits, and it's going to be way better, and that's all they want to talk about over there. So if you want to solidify that, you need to go ahead and go and beat Ohio State.
Look, you got your head coach saying hammer the 17.5, and we need to get that number up and talking bumping gums. You're bumping gums, man. Hope you know what you're walking into. I don't think Ohio State's going to be in a friendly mood to just let Notre Dame show their national prominence. I just don't think things are pointing that way in any way. But I think if Notre Dame were to pull that off, you're going to see a lot more hangover trailers. You're going to see a lot more buzz. You're going to see a lot more Driscoll pumping his chest. And it'd be a huge win. It'd be colossal. I think that'd be probably the upset, obviously, of the week if Notre Dame found a way to pull that off. I think so many people are picking Ohio State, and a lot of talking heads are picking them over Alabama. If they found a way to do that, oh, my goodness, my ears. I don't know if I can handle all that fighting Irish talk.
I will continue here, and I'll go with my worst loss first because it's right in line with your best win. My worst loss on the board is if Utah came down to the Swamp and lost. Mm-hmm. And you look at that on the outside and go, Utah losing at Florida is the worst? Well, what if Florida finishes fourth in the SEC East? Mm-hmm. What if they're even worse than that, and they, like they did last year, and the bottom falls out, and they lose to Tennessee and Kentucky and Georgia and LSU and Florida State maybe? What if they're just not a great team, and then all of a sudden Utah is standing there as a one-loss Pac-12 champ. They've run the table in the Pac-12, and everybody looks at it and goes, yeah, you beat Oregon State and you beat Cal. Nice job. But you went out and lost to Florida? What? Mm-hmm. And I just think that it almost looks like we look for a reason to leave the Pac-12 out and dismiss that brand of football over there. And my gut tells me if they are a 12-1 with a Pac-12 championship game win, they're in. But if they are 11-2, they've lost to Florida and to somebody else in the Pac-12 and then win the Pac-12 championship game, they're not going to get in, and it's because they went down there and lost to Florida. So while that Oregon win would be so huge for the Pac-12, if Utah's going to be your flag bearer and they go over to what is perceived at this point to be a middle-of-the-road SEC team, I don't care what their jersey says, they're a middle-of-the-road SEC team in our eyes until they're not. That's a big scar for the conference. They really don't need to go lose that game to Florida.
Oh, yeah. We just talked about just how important, the resume is going to be for so many teams, especially in a conference like the Pac-12, I think, where you have a world where you can win 2 games and still win that conference. And so, but even if you win your conference, you're going to be totally out the college football playoff conversation if you have a loss to a bad Florida team. And so if they want to do that and create that avenue where they can win the Pac-12 and still go to the college football playoff like we saw Washington do, they can't afford to lose to Florida week 1. I just think it'll put a huge chip in their sails, and I think that avenue for them to make the playoff, I think you got to throw that
down
out.
to nothing.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. And so,
I mean, it's fair to call Florida a middle-of-the-road SEC team, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think anytime, that's why I'm not pumping my Tigers just too much right now, but anytime you have a season where you fire your coach and you're bringing a new coaching staff, that 99% of the time means things aren't going great for your program. And so for me, I think Florida's there. So many things that they have to prove. I know a lot of people are pumping that quarterback, but they're going to have to go out there and prove it because where they were last season and where they finished the season is just not what Florida needs to be.
Worst loss on the board for you?
Worst loss on the board, just for the purpose of the exercise, obviously, like you said, if Alabama loses or any of these teams lose, then that's out of the question. But relevant teams that, are a lot more closer in competition. I actually went with Arkansas losing to Cincinnati, and I think looking at Cincinnati, with them losing all that talent that they lost from that college football playoff team, them not knowing who their quarterback's going to be, Arkansas will be at home. You are an SEC opponent. You are favored to win by 6.5. If Cincinnati, comes into Arkansas and wins that game, Matt Moscona's going to have a problem. I think you're going to have a problem. I think I'm going to have a problem. And the amount of non-Power 5 pumping that's going to go wrong in this country, I don't think I'm going to be able to deal with that. So for that reason alone, I need Arkansas to handle business because if Cincinnati wins that game, Jesus Christ, you may see them ranked 10 in the country the next week.
So it's, in my opinion, in the Southeastern Conference, unless you're at Vanderbilt, it's pretty easy, and that's a relative term. I realize it's ridiculously long hours in recruiting and game planning, and it takes a ton of really hard work. But it's quote-unquote easy to go from 4 or 5 wins in a season to 8. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty doable to get to 10. Getting to 11 or 12 is really, really hard. Mm-hmm. And it's a mountain. And that sounds obvious, but most teams, most new coaches can kind of roll out of bed, kick up a fresh perspective on the program, sell some recruits that it's a rebuild, and find your way to 8 wins. Like Butch Jones can do it, and Will Muschamp did it at Florida in year 2. And like you can get that done. And Sam Pitten's gotten that done. He's gotten from total abomination of a football program that Chad Morris left to get to that 8 wins number. That's really doable. Taking that next step is not. And if you're Arkansas and you go lose to Cincinnati and you still got all these SEC teams on your schedule, your record at the end of the year is not going to look all that great theoretically. So, yeah, I think that would be a tough, tough loss for them. I think that there's more on the line for Utah, but for me, yeah, Arkansas stubbing their toe here against what we think is a pretty average Cincinnati team, void of Sauce Gardner and Desmond Ridder and all those guys. It would take the wins out of their sail. And they're feeling great up in Arkansas. I had way too much fun on Hogville for a couple of years there when they were going 0-8. And I like Plucker's Trivia, I threw this out there on Tuesday. Only one school in the SEC has had 2 coaches lose 13 straight SEC games in this century. It ain't Vanderbilt. It's Arkansas. Brett Bielema lost 13 straight to start. Chad Morris lost 13 straight and never won one. So Arkansas has had 2 different guys come in and lose 13 conference games in a row. So now that Sam Pittman has got their same coordinators for 3 years in a row and they've won 8 games and they're thinking, oh, this is great. And I just would love for them to get knocked down a little bit of a peg there and have Cincinnati come in there, throw it around, and win the football game. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see it.
No, I think it'd be great for me to see it. I would love to see it. But I think anytime you got KJ Jefferson coming back to that team, you feel really great about what they're doing. You got their head coach bumping his gums about Texas. We want Texas every year. Arkansas's back. Like, you got to go out there and win it. If they lose to the Cincinnati team, which like you said, without their quarterback, they lose Denbrock as well. That's something that can't go overstated. They lose to that team. Ooh-wee, maybe looking good for my Tigers too. So, yeah, let's go, Cincy.
All right, I want to remind you some programming notes today. The Brian Kelly Show on Thursday now from over at TJ Ribs, voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. We'll have Coach Kelly from 7 to 8. It will take no phone calls, just some Twitter interaction. And if you go to TJ Ribs, you can write down some questions and get them into the coach. But Brian Kelly's second coach's show will be tonight at 7 o'clock. Game day schedule is set, 6:30 kickoff from the Caesars Superdome. So Charles Hannegriff and Matt Musso will be on the air at 1:30 from Rouse's down there on Barone Street in New Orleans. So very excited for that. I will jump on the airwaves at 4:30. Myself, Marlon Favorite, and Brandon Taylor from Manning's. That'll be at 4:30. We'll drop things off at 6 o'clock to the broadcast team. That'll be Gordy Rush, Doug Morrow, and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. After the game is over, 30 minutes after it goes final, I will be on for an hour with Marlon and Brandon reacting to the game, and then Charles Hannegriff and Jeremy Hill from the Nopsy down there in New Orleans will go late into Sunday night talking LSU and Florida State. So 5 hours before kickoff, LSU game day right here on Eagle 98.1 as well as on the YouTube stream here on 104.5 ESPN's YouTube stream. So loaded day that we will be bringing you on Sunday. It'll be fun Saturday watching some football. I got to go to a wedding on Saturday night, but then on Sunday, it's really just setting the stage for LSU and Florida State, and we'll crank things up at 1:30 for our broadcast. When we come back, we'll close out a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
FanDuel wants you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers can get up to $150 in free bets guaranteed for week 1. Just place a $5 bet and you can get up to $150 in free bets, win or lose.
You sure can. Check out the live betting portion tonight on FanDuel. If you're watching the games, the odds update instantly. So if you see a trend you like, you can click on it and place your wagers right there on FanBook. It is free, it is safe, it is secure. And look, the best part is when you win, you get paid very, very quickly, and we all like that very, very much. Download the FanDuel app today. Sign up with the promo code 1045ESPN. Place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the college football season. That's promo code 1045ESPN. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, no withdrawable free bet. Expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Use someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help. Call 1-877-770-STOP.
This week on dropbiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out neworleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
As a community bank, B1 Bank invests in relationships with the people and businesses we proudly represent. Our B1 bankers are here to help simplify the complicated, understand your needs, and make managing your finances easier. At B1 Bank, we offer an array of solutions to help simplify your transaction needs. B1 Bank, one highly personal banking experience. Visit us online at b1bank.com for more information.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the
Griff, join me for the next edition of Hanny Time, live from Rufino's. Got a football Friday feel to it. Jimmy Otto joined me along with former LSU Tiger Richard Dixon. Hanny Time, noon weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's close up shop here on a Thursday. We'll start with our Citizens Bank poll question of the day. Simply, what game are you watching tonight? Ball State, Tennessee, Purdue, Penn State, West Virginia, Pitt, or 2019 LSU YouTube videos was our fourth choice. The overwhelming winner, West Virginia, Pittsburgh. They got 54% of the vote. Second place, Purdue, Penn State. Third place, LSU 2019 YouTube videos. And then Ball State and Pittsburgh only got 11%. I'm going to start with Ball State and Tennessee because it's an SEC game. We play Tennessee this year, and personally, I'd like the Vols to beat Alabama, so we just monitor their progress from time to time. But I will eventually work my way to the other games. That's the plan.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna tune in, man. It's finally here, so if it's on ESPN, if it's on channel, I'll probably not be watching too much SWAC and non-Power 5 football, but I'll be watching some stuff, especially the SEC flavor. I want to see what the SEC has to bring.
All right, first take it or leave it comes from me. Donovan Mitchell has been traded from the Utah Jazz to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pels just moved up a spot in the West. Take it or leave it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Jazz were out of it anyway to begin with. They just traded Rudy Gobert. They're going full rebuild. They don't even have a coach right now, and they're just, the fire and pillage to that whole organization. They're starting over from scratch. So, yeah, I think even with that being said, the Pels are already, with Zion coming back, they're going to take a huge leap over a lot of teams that weren't even in the playoffs last year. So, yeah, I got the Pels taking that leap even without the Jazz situation.
I'll take it.
Alrighty, here. Let me go. Okay. College Football Playoff Board of Managers, they have sped up the process of expanding the playoffs, with them stating with a unanimous decision, they can have an expanded playoff as early as 2024. Are you taking or leaving? College football fans will see an expanded playoff by 2024.
I'll take it.
I'll take
there's
it.
more money. I think they're going to do it. It caters to more people to expand the playoff. It's the same reason why the LHSA dice itself up into 47 divisions, so everyone can have a participation trophy. Now, I don't subscribe to it that way in the college level. I have planted my flag and said I want a 12-team playoff with 4 byes. I think that makes the regular season more interesting, not less interesting. If the top 4 teams are fighting for a bye, all their games matter. And if you've lost 2 games, but you can notch some big-time wins late, your season is not toast. You can squeak in to the back potentially. So I think it makes the regular season more interesting if you add more teams to the playoff, not less. So I'm all for it. I think they're going to do it. My hope is that they do it pretty quickly. That would make me a happy guy. Serena Williams advanced last night in the U.S. Open. She beat the number 2 player in the world, number 2 seed, in front of a loaded crowd that included Tiger Woods up there in Flushing at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Great idea to bet against Serena. Take it or leave it.
Oh, I'm leaving that, man. Like, I know she's on her last legs right now, but when I just think of tennis, and I'm not a savant in any way, but if I think of women's tennis especially, you're thinking of Serena. So it's cool to see her still in contention right now, doing something special to go out with a bang. We've seen greats do it before.
Jimmy Connors.
Yeah, so I think if Serena can pull this off, it just puts a bigger stamp than she ever had on her legacy, which is already signed, sealed, and delivered. So, yeah, I'm cheering for Serena heavily here. All right. When asked on how the Arkansas Razorbacks will game plan against Cincinnati in their home opener, Sam Pittman said some guys bring iced tea, some guys bring liquor. We just have to figure out what they are bringing. Are you taking or leaving? Bringing liquor to prepare for a football game.
I like Sam Pittman. I don't know what that means, but I like it. He's something else. I tried to bring liquor into Tiger Stadium one time. I got caught. I had it vacuum sealed in a Ziploc bag. We had a guy bring a Ziploc machine to the tailgate, and we were all, and I literally took my shirt off and taped it to my lower back. I got right through the student section, and they were patting people down as they were letting in. They felt that my back fat was pinched in, and immediately found it. Got kicked right out of the stadium. It's a South Carolina game, 2007. So I saw a couple of buddies that were walking towards the game, and they cobbled together and got me $100. I didn't have any cash on me. I'm a college student. They were too, but they had $100. And I bought another ticket and went back in. And when it started pouring down rain for that game, I was able to jump back over into the section I was in. So no harm, no foul. We got back in. But, yeah, I tried to bring liquor to that game. It didn't work out. So I guess next time's iced tea.
Look, Tiger Stadium's come a long way. Did I think we'd be buying beers and getting tequila? And look, I just never thought that day would come. It's so cool and refreshing to have a nice beverage and watch the Tigers go out there and play. Definitely beats trying to sneak in some beverages.
I was 0 for 1. Oh, God, I can't remember what her last name now. Margaret, I can't remember her last name, but shout out to her for having bourbon at every game. So I would find her at halftime, and she'd pour a little in my cup, and we'd get on down the road. But that was how we did things in college. Last one here: Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos have agreed to a 5-year extension, $245 million. That is $165 million in guaranteed money. Third highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. Mr. Unlimited needs to bring a Super Bowl to Denver to justify that contract. Take it or leave it.
Oh, I'm taking that. I think especially kind of gets a little LSU flavor, I feel like, with Denver fans when they feel like things are going. We're going to win that Super Bowl. And I think anytime they've been seeing Elway, try and get that quarterback, he got Peyton, got it done. And now a lot of Denver fans feel like this is eerily similar to that situation. So, yeah, Mr. Unlimited, he's going to be on the clock here to win a Super Bowl. I just think looking at the AFC, it's just going to be so difficult to do. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think, they're going to be looking for him to win a Super Bowl.
The last 2 QBs to win a Super Bowl for the Broncos are members at Cherry Hills Country Club, which I got to play a couple of weeks ago. Saw Peyton Manning there. If that's the benefit, I'm going to go try to win the Super Bowl for the Broncos coming up because I can get down with that. So, yeah, I don't love I don't love the Broncos. I like the Broncos this year. I don't love them. I think their division is absolutely brutal.
Gauntlet. That's a gauntlet. Yeah, that's why if they were in any other division, like they're in the AFC South with Tennessee and Jacksonville, I'd be like, I love
Houston,
that.
Baby.
Yeah, but not the West. That's a gauntlet.
That's why I love the Colts this year. Their division stinks, and I think they're actually pretty good. So that'll do it for Take It or Leave It. All right. We have reached the end of the road. Tomorrow we are full-fledged game mode. I'll be in some LSU gear tomorrow. Juices will be flowing. We'll start to kind of feel it. But tonight we get to watch some football, and I'm excited to do that. We'll be watching the Vols and watching a little Big Ten football. I don't watch a ton of Big Ten football in my day. When game day comes off, and then we get the crowd shot of Illinois versus Wisconsin, you usually lose me, and I go catch the Mississippi State versus Vanderbilt game or whatever it may be. But tonight I will probably catch some Big Ten football. I'm very much looking forward to that. So tomorrow we will reveal our picks for LSU and Florida State. We'll give our picks on all the SEC games as well. Right now, not looking like a lot of guests for tomorrow. I think we're just going to talk a lot of football and get ready for the weekend to come. The last weekend without NFL football and a full slate of college football games on the docket, so very much looking forward to that. If you missed any of the show today, we open things up with Marcus Maye, Saints safety, who is facing some legal issues now. He has been arrested on account of assault with a weapon, so we'll see what is released from that. The initial report is that he took a gun out in a road rage type incident and waved it in front of some underage kids. His attorney has come out and vehemently denied that. Matt will have a lot more on that. We chatted with Luke Johnson about it at 1:30, so if you missed that conversation, go back and catch Luke on demand. We also talked to LSU and Florida State in the first hour. Lance Hurd thoughts to end our number one. Hopefully that is good news for the Tigers a little bit later this evening. We opened the second hour talking about the games that are going on tonight, gave our gambling picks there. Talked a little bit of LSU secondary there at 2:15, and then today at 2:30, our best win and worst loss on the college football board this weekend. So go check it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate all of that. Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming to you from 6 to 8. Matt's about to drive you home 3 to 6 on After Further Review. Get through this Thursday. We are coming at you with a full Football Friday tomorrow, and we can't wait. We'll see you tomorrow on Hunt and Hill.